Welcome to the Johnston Police Department. I'd like to take this opportunity to show you around and show you the health welfare deficiencies with the building here. To begin with, this is our reception area. This is where the general public comes in to conduct business. The problems with this area is there's no separation from the public to the operations. You have patrol on that side, you have administration and dispatch reception on this side. There are no modern security features that go with this. There's no ballistic glass protection. There's no ballistic panel protection to the reception window here whatsoever. The dispatch center, again, lacks the health, welfare, safety protocols and features that we need in a modern facility. If you look around the room here, we have one person that works this area that takes the calls that come in via the telephone, that answers the radio, that attends to walk-in traffic as people come in. If you take a look at this over here, this is our wiring management, not to be facetious and everything, but if you look at that, you will notice that that is grossly inadequate and insufficient. Next area I'd like to show you is our detention area. Modern police and sheriff's facilities all have a detention area. What we have here in our area is just a reception area. I do not have a holding cell. What that means for me procedurally and in terms of health, welfare, safety for staff, for detainees, and for the general public is, say for example you arrest me and you bring me into this facility. You have to keep me with you during that whole time. You don't have an area that you can take and place me in so that you can take and store your gun, and what happens is you come in here with me in tow and you take and pull your gun with me in tow. You take and put your weapon in here, you lock it in. The problem with that is the bad guy, the arrestee, is with you. He sees where the weapon's placed, and then he takes and he sees where you place your key. Well, logically everybody understands that if that bad guy acts out, he knows where the weapon's at and he knows where you placed your key. That puts you, the facility, and in our case, the police station and the city hall at risk. Modern facilities all have a sally port. And a sally port is basically an area for the officer to pull into, park the patrol car. The sally port would close behind. You have a security area to deliver your prisoner. And then you come into the facility. Modern facilities have security measures. Once you're in there, the detainee can't leave. Here, all you have to do is push on that bar and you're right out the back door. That's our accident investigation equipment that we keep in there, so that if we were to have a fatality or a very serious accident and there's special tools and equipment the investigator needs, this is where he stores it. A big problem that I have is a lack of storage, and what we end up having to do is just catch as catch can. We utilize every nook and cranny that we have, and this is what we have to do that with. The unfortunate part of this area is, again, we're back in the detention area, and that's where that item is stored. And as you can see, there is absolutely no security to that whatsoever. This is also the same area that officers load in and load out to begin their shifts. What that means is that they're coming through this area, they're taking and carrying their duty equipment. The duty equipment includes shotgun, high-powered rifle, and other items to include ammunition. That comes through here. This is your detention area. The interview rooms, there's no sound insulation to them. They are not a legitimate interview room. This particular interview room, although equipped with video and audio recording, does not have the soundproofing needed to take and conduct a confidential interview or an interrogation. The other problem is that this room doubles for OWI processing. I'll show you my property and evidence room next. This is the intake area. This is the area if I'm working the street, I come in to possession of evidence or property, found property, that has to be submitted into our property and evidence room. This is the area in which it comes. Problems with this area, and this room in particular, it doesn't have the modern construction that's required. It's hollow core drywall, wooden door. I do have electronic video monitoring of it for security. I have installed hog wire panel up above so that I have security for my long-term storage. Problems with this area include this ventilation hood that we have. My evidence technician is required from time to time to do fingerprints. In taking the fingerprints, he does a super glue technique that produces noxious, toxic fumes. The hood is intended to evacuate those out of the building. Unfortunately, it doesn't meet OSHA standards, and he has to be very selective in the time of the day and the day of the week in which he does it, because those odors take and kind of permeate through the whole building. This is my long-term storage area for my evidence. I'm not going to take you in there. We have some ongoing investigations. There's sensitive items of evidence back there that I can't allow you to see. But I will stress that there are significant deficiencies that go with this area that I have to stress to you, and they have to do with the construction. Hollow core door, hollow core walls, modern facilities, steel doors, concrete block construction. The building itself doesn't meet today's standards, and we need to correct those deficiencies. This is the area where the male officers take and report to work. This is where they come and they change into their uniform, or they change out of the uniform at the end of shift. This is where they take and will store their weapons. And again, this is right off the detention area. This is the same area that we have to take and use for our fleet key storage. Again, this is just right off of the detention area. Now, the normal person, when they come into this facility, they don't take note of those things. But the clientele that we deal with that are the repeat offenders, when they come into a station, their antenna goes up and they start looking for those vulnerabilities. And for us, these are things for those hardcore individuals that we sometimes have to deal with. They take note of it and then they seek out, and that puts us at a disadvantage. Another problem with this area for staff is that there is no shower or restroom facility in here. Well, you ask me why a shower. The importance of the shower, and that's a health, welfare, safety concern, is that during the course of their work shift, they can come in contact with someone who may have been exposed to some bloodborne pathogen, be it saliva, be it blood, be it urine, be it feces, vomit, whatever it might be, that gets transferred to that officer and to that officer's clothing. If the officer doesn't have an area where he can come and get cleaned up, washed off, and into a new uniform, he has to continue his shift in that uniform, and anything else that he comes in contact with, he cross-contaminates. And then the officer at the end of shift has to climb into his personal vehicle and drive home under those conditions. That's a health, welfare, safety concern for us here at work, and it's the one that transfers to his house. You've seen the men's locker room. Let me show you our female officer's locker room. It's just a space that's been configured, and we've had to take and place a locker in the toilet closet there for her. You know, when I talk about recruitment, this is certainly not a poster child for that. How are you?
Good, how are you?
This area here is our investigator's office. I have two investigators, and they office out of this area. The problems with this area is they don't have the workspace when they're working a significant serious crime investigation to take in and be able to whiteboard the investigation, to be able to spread out the evidence and the property that they might have in their custody. In October and November of this past year, we had an armed robbery, a home invasion, and in early January of this year, we had another attempted armed robbery. my investigators, in trying to work through that string of armed robberies and the home invasion, had to take and relocate down into the patrol area and be able to manage that investigation. The problem with that, they're competing for the same space that the patrol officers were working in. And as we go down there, I'll show you some of the other deficiencies and problems that develop because of that. This here is our patrol area. In this area, I have my street officers, and then I have their supervisors. I have 3 sergeants that work out of this area. The balance of this area is shared by the patrol officers. This is also our roll call office. The area back there in the corner is the only designated area that we have for storage in the building. These are crime scene processing. You see the lighting up there, and then we have rolls of paper for our in-car computers, fire extinguishers, etc., those type of things. Earlier we talked about the investigators having to relocate to this area here, and that's when they were working the home invasion and the 2 armed robberies. The problem with that, this is the same area in which you conduct roll call, the same area in which the patrol officers and the patrol sergeants take and work out of. The investigators sitting in here, working their whiteboard, putting all their evidence information on it so that they're able to capture and detail everything that they know about the case. At the same time, you got officers trying to do their job in here. And then the other big problem that I have with that is, here's the public lobby area right out here. You have a glass, the door, hollow core. It's difficult to have confidential conversation when you have the general public. It's just right off the lobby here. You know, you have some serious issues with the integrity of the case, of people being able to see and hear things that they shouldn't. We're going to close out our tour here of the Johnston Police Department. I have to say that I'm very proud of the men and women that work here under very difficult conditions. As I've showed you, our facility is quite lacking. The bottom line is that we have significant health, welfare, safety issues for both police, the public, and detainees.